Hey, welcome to a moment with the real estate guy. Today, actually, really cool. I have a guest. It's Jason Heynen, Magnus Title marketing guru. I don't want to call you guru. What do you want to call yourself, Jason?
Marketing manager would be fine. Guru is a
Marketing
lot of
manager.
pressure. That's a terrifying title.
Marketing man. And if you recognize Jason, it's because we did a video. I guess you call it a video. There was a spoof on pharmaceutical side effects from all the big pharma companies, and I actually just dropped that again the other day on my Instagram, where Jason plays this distraught homeowner, and I'm the realtor coming in to save the day.
Dude, that was really fun. That was your idea too. I've got to give you credit where credit's due. You said, "Hey,
Thank
what
you,
if we
thank
did a
you.
video that was like a medication called
Right,
Realtor, and
right.
it was the cure for like the stressed out, anxiety-ridden homeowner." And so yeah, dude, that was very funny, and you played it perfectly. And that ended up like the normally with some of the quick video shorts and stuff that I'll do, or on the real estate stuff, like it'll just be cranked out pretty quick. But I actually
Yeah,
sat down in the editing bay with the editor, and
anyway,
we went over that meticulously to get
yeah.
everything just right for like
It
two
took a
hours.
while.
Came out good, man.
It
You were
did.
funny.
It did. You were
You
funny as
were,
well. Yeah. And what the other cool thing about it is I met Carl Pereira
yeah.
because he
Oh
was at
yeah.
the house that
Yeah.
day.
The flying
We had
agent.
we actually had him on the show. I
Oh,
think his
that's
episode.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
realize I was actually texting you
I know.
guys. I think I texted him and you
Right.
while he was on the
Yeah.
show. And you texted me and were like, "Hey, Carl's on our show," but I didn't know that you meant right now in this
Right.
moment he's on the
Right.
show. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, okay. What are the odds?" But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
a
was
great. It's
texting
a
you or
yeah.
him
Yeah.
while
It's
you
a
guys
great
were on.
episode too because we talk about Malaysia. That's where he's from. We talk about the plane, the pilot aspect of it, and I specifically asked him like, "Are you a pilot nerd?" He's like, "Oh yeah, or a plane nerd." So all the stuff that's falling out of the sky this year, right? All the stuff we hear, right? It's nothing out of the norm. It's actually the numbers are less this year than were last year, but that's what the media wants to focus on.
And they're just
Which
focusing on it more now.
which is a great segue to why you're here, Jason, because I hate the fact that the media says all the things they say about the real estate market, and 9 times out of 10, it's not true. It's clickbait. Let's just click the headline and then feed you full of nonsense. Specifically, not too long ago, there was an article that was written in AZ Central where they said there was 26,000 houses for sale in Phoenix Metro. Not true. There was 26,000 properties in all of Phoenix Metro, but you know as well as I do, our MLS now pulls from places like Sedona, Wickenburg, Wikiup,
Yeah,
Nogales.
all
Like
the
it's
outskirts, even Pinal County, like just the
right,
places in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
right. Where when I first got in the business, it was just Maricopa and Pinal County. That was it, nothing else. But so over the years, the map on the MLS has expanded to all these northern cities and stuff. That it even pulls stuff from Mexico.
Well,
So
and
when
it skews the averages,
it
which is
does
what you're saying. So it
exactly.
it 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 does give a false impression. Like we have this glut of listings, and we're just, it's 2009 all over again, and there's just
Right.
empty houses everywhere, and
Mm-hmm.
which is not
Mm-hmm.
the case at all.
It's not. It's not the case. When that article came out, I actually went on the MLS and did a video for it, and I actually took Phoenix Metro, so it's all Maricopa County, with Phoenix being the central part of it. I put in 3 bedroom, single family detached, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. That was it, and it dropped to just under 14,000 total properties for sale in all. And again, boys and girls, that was all of Maricopa County. So not just Phoenix itself, all of Maricopa County. So when you see stuff on the news and you read stuff on Instagrams and Facebook, the little headlines that our supplies outweighing our demand, it's just not true
Right,
at all.
right. In fact, we have, looking at the stats in the last month from June
Okay.
1st to July 1st, we actually
Okay.
have less listings in the greater Phoenix area. And again,
Right.
that's a very broad
Right.
umbrella, but we have less listings by about 1,000 than we did June 1st.
Right.
We, from May 1st to June 1st, we saw almost a record increase in the median and the average. That indicates demand is super, super high. We had an increase. I think we hit, I want to say like 618,000, somewhere around there. It was well over 600,000 for the average Phoenix sales price. I don't want to scare
Wow.
away any of your clients, of any who might be buyers, but that's good news for sellers. And the median, meaning 50% above, 50% below, the median was like 455 or 460.
Yeah.
Forgive me if I'm a couple
Yeah.
$1,000s off here, but they were record highs. Now it's adjusted a little bit from June
Sure.
1st to July 1st, but everything kind of it little ups and little downs. We're at where we were, or even a little bit slightly above on the average pricing compared to a year ago.
And see, and that's the other thing that I want people to understand when you see these graphs about the interest rate, right? Because everybody's, oh, the interest rate's 6.5%, it's terrible. No, it's not. If you look at an interest rate graph from the year 2000 to today, the average rate is about 6.5%.
Right.
Or people get hung up on the COVID years, 2.5%, 3%. It's never happening again. It just our world from an economic standpoint can't sustain that, and I don't think people understand that.
Well, and people don't think about, I talk to so many people being on the marketing, sales, marketing side of a
Sure.
title company. I'm not smart enough to be an escrow officer, but I do, as a former realtor, I do understand real estate. I've done probably a dozen fix and flips. I've had long-term rentals. Currently have a vacation rental. I've been on all sorts of sides of it.
Right. So if you're looking for a rental in Scottsdale, Jason's your guy.
Hey, you know what? Might be able to help you out.
Tell people about your Airbnb, Jason. Give yourself a plug.
It's actually it's Scottsdale adjacent, so
Right.
you get all of the amenities, all the benefits. I try to make it as luxury as I can. I provide all
Nice.
sorts of cool stuff. You got a heated pool, fireplace. I give bathrobes,
Nice.
slippers, loofahs, soaps. I put some wine in the fridge for people. I've got all sorts of cool little goodies that I do, but
Right
you don't
on.
pay the Scottsdale prices, and you're basically kind of Biltmore Arcadia adjacent.
Nice.
Beautiful place, and I'll hook it up if you say that Chris sent you.
Yeah, you got it. After the show, send me a link. I'll put it up on my real estate guy page, and we'll see.
Cool,
if we
will
can get
do.
some traction.
I'll send you a video.
Yeah,
I'll send
that's
you a
even
drone
better.
fly-through video.
Even better. Ooh, drone fly through.
Yeah, I was saying during 2020, I talked, 2019, 2020, 2021, I talked to so many people, younger people, about how they really should buy a house. And their main concern was, well, home prices are so expensive. There's bidding wars. There's this and that going on. And I said, look, we're never going to see, sub 3 interest rates again in our life. And they were concerned about paying too much for a home. And now those same people are trapped
Right.
5 years later with rents that went up. I don't know. I'm kind of making this up here, but maybe rents have gone up. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe 30%.
Well,
in the last 5 years.
have you been able to get more for your Airbnb in this 5-year span? I mean, it's a different animal
My
than
pricing,
rentals, but
well, interestingly, the summer rates I've actually dropped a little bit,
okay.
but the high season rates I've raised. So it's kind of a bifurcation. I don't know if I'm using that word right, or a sort of a all of one or the other.
Well,
I think things have become polarized is what I'm looking for with the pricing.
And it's a little more indicative with Airbnb. You don't want to come to Arizona in August.
Right.
Like,
right.
I mean, what are you smoking if you want to come here for vacation in August, right?
And people, I think, were still traveling a little bit more. People would still come into town, 3-4 years ago, and they'd need a place in the summer. You'd still get the people flying in for their daughter who is graduating or moving in or out of a dorm. Little trips that were kind of unnecessary, but they had the money and they'd say, oh, what the heck. Now, people are not traveling as much. They're saving their money in the summer or they're not coming to Phoenix unless they really need to. But in the high season, December through May through April, I'm able to charge more because the people who are traveling, they're willing to pay it. So it's kind of a polarization on the pricing.
See, there you go. Some Airbnb facts from somebody who actually owns an Airbnb. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a fickle game, that Airbnb game. But yeah, there's a lot that you have to learn. It's not as easy as just getting a place, furnishing it, and throwing it out there. You've got to stay on top of the algorithms and kind of all sorts of things. And now the platforms, Airbnb and VRBO, they're doing a lot of AI-driven stuff where they rearrange your photos or they suddenly kind of create little different things on the platform that are done automatically that you don't necessarily like or want done on your listing. So you have to go in there and readjust them. It moves fast. It's a fast-paced thing. But hey, if any of your clients, if anyone has any questions about vacation rentals, I'd be happy to offer whatever advice or assistance I can.
So I have a random question. What do you pay Airbnb to host the like I know Zillow, you put a listing in Zillow, right? You put a listing in Realtor, put a listing in, boom, it goes everywhere. Unless you're coming soons and whatnot, right? for those. But with Airbnb, are you paying a fee to be on their website?
You don't pay a fee, but
Okay.
you pay a pretty decent fee for when you get a booking.
Okay.
So I want to say it's around 8%
Okay.
here or there.
Okay.
So, if you get for every $1,000 that you book, you're paying 80, that someone books you, you're paying $80. The good thing is that
Okay.
you don't pay the taxes. You have to report the guests are the ones paying the rental tax.
Nice.
And in Arizona, as of January 1st this year, 31 days and longer, you don't have to pay rental tax. I don't know if everybody knows that or not.
Well, there you
But
go.
30
Look,
days and
Jason dropping the knowledge.
dropping the knowledge bombs, baby.
That's cool.
But the short-term rentals, the tenants pay the taxes.
Right.
But
Okay.
you have to, and this reminds me, I have to do it for July 1st. I still haven't done it. Every month you have to tell the government what those tenants paid. You have to tabulate it and report it to the government. Otherwise, you
Okay.
as a host get fined. So
Gotcha.
that's a little difficult to stay on top of.
Okay. So now I know as well. This is what's cool about my podcast, Jason. We're going down the Airbnb path now. To be a host, like you have Superhost, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's different level of hosting. So how do you achieve this? Because I'm assuming you're a Superhost. Is that what they call it? The top echelon, like you're the shit?
Yeah. I'm a Superhost on Airbnb and a whatever it's called on VRBO. I'm on the top on both of them.
So how do you get to be a Superhost?
It's not as difficult as you'd think, although one trouble tenant or one bad experience can completely ruin
Derail
you.
you?
But on a rolling basis, they have different, I don't know if it's every 6 months or every 4 months or annually. I lose track because I'm so locked in now that I'm not concerned about wondering if I'm going to meet the criteria month after month because I'm confident I always will.
Yeah.
But the first year I was really staying on top of it.
Yeah.
They assess you based on number of bookings and or number of total nights that are booked. So you might only have 3 guests, but if they stay 90 days, then for that quarter or for that year or whatever.
See, I thought it was something like, hey, this Superhost
and then
goes
you
above
have
and
to
beyond.
get an average of like 4.9, 4 point something
Reviews?
rating. I've always gotten 5 stars on everything.
Okay.
You can't have any negative reviews. You can't cancel on anybody. A bunch of things like that. So you just have to be real careful. So if you get one really nasty review and it lowers your average, that's a huge, the 5-star reviews are like gold,
Okay.
That's the most important thing for the algorithms. Anybody looking to get into the vacation rental game, you need to do whatever you can to get that 5-star review. And there's no shame in asking when you send the checkout message and you thank your guests for staying with you. I always ask them, hey, I'll rate you 5 stars as a traveler, and if you do the same for me. And some people forget, and so I'll message them several times. Hey, please leave that review. Yeah, those reviews.
And they're like, the dude wouldn't leave me alone. He just kept bugging me for a review. But the place was really nice, and I got a bathrobe and a bottle of wine.
He's a stalker. Yeah, he keeps texting.
That was the reason why I asked that question. I always thought a Superhost meant, like you said earlier, bathrobes and wine. If they drink wine, you probably find out what kind of wine they drink, knowing where I work at, and everybody's wine crazy, whereas I don't touch the stuff. But that kind of thing, I would think that was a Superhost because you're going above and beyond for your guests, not necessarily just because you get a 5-star review or because you have length of time booking. I would personally think it's more geared towards how you are as an owner of that B&B and how you take care of your clients, as opposed to, well, Chris and Nikki booked for 90 days.
That goes into it, but it's mostly the reviews, the ratings, the lengths of stays.
Okay.
I suspect, I don't know for sure, but I suspect the AI reads the reviews. And if you're consistently getting reviews that say host went above and beyond, we love the amenities, this, that, and the other, I suspect that goes into them pushing you on the algorithm so you get more bookings, so that it's all kind of wrapped together.
It's the science.
And believe me, those little amenities, those little extras, I often do when I'm interacting with the guests before they check in, and I find out they're, vegetarian or whatever, I'll put some sort of snack in the fridge for them, or if I find out they're non-dairy, then I'll get them some almond milk instead of regular milk.
Right.
Or if I find out they have kids, I'll set up the, pack and play or the.
Oh, right on.
Or I'll leave little, PB&Js or something in the fridge for them. So I try to always do that.
See, that's cool.
It goes a long way, because then it's
Right.
once in a while you might have an issue where the internet keeps going out, right?
Right.
It's no fault of my
No
own,
fault
but
of your own.
constant
Right.
communication
Right.
is horrible. And
Yep.
so every
You
couple
heard, you,
months I'll have
I didn't say it. Jason did. Okay, boys and girls. 'Cause
yeah, the AIs are listening to us right now.
Starlink is so much better than Cox. Let me tell you.
You can avoid a bad review or a complaint if you have pre-loaded the experience with a whole bunch of little extras. So
I like that. That's a good approach. So let's take that into a direction of how do you do that in your marketing side of real estate, Jason?
Man, Chris, you are good, man. I saw how you did that. I saw how you wrapped it into the next question. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's not my first rodeo, man.
This is not. It's almost like you've been a radio show host before.
In a past life, I ain't a slacker. I'm not just a pretty face. And yes, I do have a radio voice if I want one.
You do. You got a
The
sexy
Frasier.
radio voice, and it's a shame because you do not have a face for radio. You have a face for camera. But
You know what I learned yesterday? This is gonna be funny. This shows you how stupid I can be sometimes. So Nikki and I were rewatching Shameless. We were up at the Sophisticated Stag since last Wednesday. You know where that is, right? Nick's, right? So we started watching Shameless again because I didn't realize there's an episode in the second season where Frank. You ever watch Shameless?
I've seen clips.
Okay. So you may this may or may not. So lack of a better explanation, Frank's this drop down drunk who's completely irresponsible and has 6 kids sired. Blah blah blah. He's always scheming for something, right? He's not a good human at all. So he finds out this lady who used to come to the bar all the time, the alibi where they always are at. She has to get heart surgery or something. So they're talking about this woman in the bar, about how she has this beautiful chest and, legs to die for, like they don't quit, and this just succulent, behind, right? And just like neck down, just drop dead gorgeous. So they're all chimmering in the bar about this woman, right? She's just flawless from the neck down. And then collectively they say, but her face. Yesterday was the day in my life when I realized that but her face meant but her face, not Butter face. I thought it was Butterface, like it was
Butterface. But that's what.
Right.
But that's where the colloquial joke came from. The Butterface.
But I didn't until yesterday. I had no idea. And Nikki's like, really? I'm like, no. All of a sudden, that moment in time, I was like, oh, I get it. She's hot, but her face.
But her face.
Garbage, or the bag, the paper bag.
I once in a while will use a phrase, and I just did it right now. Every so often I'll catch myself saying something and realizing I don't actually know if I'm saying this right or if what I'm saying is like once in a while. Some time ago, probably several years ago, I had to look up, is it once and a while or is it once in a while?
Right. What is it?
Can I tell you the things? Okay, I'm sure you have a couple pet peeves of things that you absolutely hate when you see people write it or say it. One thing I can't stand is when people write should of. I should have gone to that
Right.
It's
Party.
Should have. So it's should apostrophe VE. But people, you'll start noticing this now. People will write should of, and it drives me up the wall.
Okay, should OF instead of should with the height. Yeah, VE.
It's supposed to be should apostrophe VE.
VE, right.
But people will write should of, and it makes me want to jump off of a cliff. That's one of my irrational pet peeves. Throw one at me. What do you got, babe?
That drives me nuts. When you're having a conversation with somebody and every third, fourth word is I now I understand why, because I've researched the mentality behind it and because they're trying to formulate their thought. But it's really huge with athletes, right? When they're being post game interviewed. Well, I just, I just really, I shoot the ball and, it goes in the net, and that's my upbringing, because I would, stand a free throw line every day, in the backyard of my house, and I would just shoot free throws, until I missed one. I could get, it's like, 2,000-3,000, and then I finally miss one. That drives me nuts. And I get why, because somewhere back in life, I looked that up. And it's a very intelligent thing, because you're trying to formulate the proper response. But instead of just having a silence, you fill the silence with an while your brain's trying to think of how to answer.
It's a space filler for sure.
Right. And so that drives me nuts.
And you probably would agree with this that one, see, you're used to broadcasting, so you don't necessarily experience this, but a lot of people, the most terrifying thing is silence. I mean,
Right.
that's bad for radio, right? When there's
Sure.
just silence and you're thinking. But the most difficult thing for a person to do, and I experience it as well, when you're speaking publicly, to stop and to think quietly, collect your thoughts, and then carry on. It's terrifying when you lose your train of thought. And so people fill that
Agreed.
and you know what I'm saying and you know what I mean and
And like.
yeah,
Yeah. And that,
drives
yeah.
me up the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. But you make a good point though, because when you go to somebody who has experience speaking in public, they'll have those pauses on stage because they're going from one segment to the other, but they're so in tune with their skill set, they know what they're saying, they just reframe it in their mind to go, now I'm going to page 2. But if you notice next time you go to where you have a public speaker, if you notice when they do pause, the audience is like, because they know whatever's coming out of his mouth next has relevance to what they're talking about and is a point that needs to be made. That's one thing I've picked up with speakers.
Very true. You know that there's some gravity behind what's about to be said,
Yes.
or at least you know there's some sincere
Correct.
thought that goes into
Could be
it.
bullshitting all day long, but he makes that pause at the proper time.
It's a moment of vulnerability, is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, not to force this into a real estate thought track, but seriously, I'm thinking you go to listing appointments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the worst thing you can do is just talk and tell them what they need to hear and tell them what you think they want to hear and tell them how you're the best and tell them how you're going to sell their house. And it's like, and that goes back to what you were asking me a second ago, as far as how I use my Superhost status on the real estate side when I'm meeting with realtors. Right. And I think, listen to what people are looking for and then formulate your response based on that. Because a lot of times, early on in my career with Title, I'd sit down with realtors and I just wanted to share every incredible tool and strategy and everything that I knew about as a former realtor and everything that I know that other successful teams are using. And it turns out, this person doesn't want any of that. They want to know, they're looking for one single thing that they came to me for help with, and I didn't mention that at all. So I've learned to listen and speak less.
Yeah,
even though I'm speaking a lot right now.
No, but it's true though. That's for me one of the accolades that I get from people I work with is that he listens to what we need. He listens to what we want. There's value in that, because as you listen to the client, you're developing a foundation for that relationship. And I always approach everything real estate wise. Yes, you're a client when we first meet, but my intention is for you to become some type of friend, whatever level that is, because you're going to hear from me till the day I die. Because I'm successful because you feed me referrals, but you're feeding me referrals because I took exceptional care of you, which is why I love Brokers Hub Realty, because of the Nick saying elevating the standards. It's going above and beyond what most realtors don't do that makes you stand out. And I've been doing this for 25 years. So, I've been hit up by tons of title companies, tons of lenders. When I first met you, I'm like, I'm good. I have a rep, right? But that rep kind of just went, and then I'm like, oh, I'll call Jason. Because you respected the fact that I had somebody in place. You're like, I'm here if you need me. I have this type of stuff if you want to use it. It was never hitting me over the head. It was more of a casual innuendo. Hey, I got this. With the luxury with what I love about Brokers Hub is the weekly fireside chats. You would come in and start dangling all these carrots of all these different things that you had that could be utilized. And that's really what sold me, because I wasn't getting any of that from the previous title company, partly because I never asked for it, because I don't ask for favors. I don't reach out and say, give me, because I don't feel it's warranted. My job's to sell a house. And then all the people that are involved in that just fall into place, right? So it's not that I didn't want stuff. I just never asked for it. So when you would come in and just drop these little carrots of things, I'd be like, oh, that's legit. I can get that. You can send me that information. And it wasn't hitting me over the head, but it's stuff that I've used when I've gone on listing appointments, because it gives me that much more knowledge of the market than what I'm just going out researching myself, because it's from somebody else's point of view. which is valuable in our world.
And what I've learned, to piggyback off of what you're saying, that's exactly right. So years ago, I want to say 2019 or 2018, there was a huge comprehensive survey that was done. I'm wrong. I'm messing up the date and some of the finer details, but the point is, I want to say it was Realtor.com or maybe it was NAR. I don't know, but it was an authority on real estate, and they did a huge comprehensive survey based on people who had worked with a realtor in the last year or 2 years or 3 years. And they had this huge combobulation of different reasons why you may have worked with a realtor. They spent the most money on the thing. They had the biggest brand. They had the best advertising. They had a billboard. They had whatever. And they all fit into like 4 different categories of answers. And consistently, the number one reason when all of the information was sifted out and they all slotted into their 4 or 5 categories, the overwhelming reason that people worked with a realtor was trust. So it was the person they trusted the most. So it wasn't the person with the most experience. It wasn't the person with the flashiest car or the shiniest marketing resource or whatever. It was trust. And that makes sense if you think nowadays. And I take this approach when I meet with realtors. Realtors and home buyers and sellers, for the most part, they're fairly savvy nowadays. There is so much information out there. Oftentimes, what they need is someone they can trust, that they can ask for to fill in the gaps. And also, hey, I'm hearing this. Is this true? Can I bounce this idea off of you? But the days of sitting down and explaining to somebody, how home ownership builds equity and how you're going to write a contract and what, the nuts and bolts, they already know that for the most part.
Yeah, they do. Because
I try to do that with realtors. I try to say, hey, look, I'm here. I understand. I respect the fact that you have relationships elsewhere, but if there's somewhere that you're lacking on what you need, let me help you out. And until then, I'm going to be here for the long run. And so,
absolutely.
Thank you for that compliment.
You're welcome. Now, do you ever approach brand new realtors that don't know anything but what was shoved down their throat in school that they're never going to use again, aside from the disclosure stuff?
Really good question, and that is exactly what it's like. Yes, I do. I meet with a lot of new realtors. They're some of my favorite people to work with. Some of my favorite and least favorite. Because I'll give you the sour side first.
Okay,
As we know,
cool.
The market, it's not moving as fast as it was years ago, where every brand new realtor got their license and 4 or 5 people would call them up and want to buy a house, right?
Right.
Because interest rates were low. So I do meet with a lot of new agents, and the sour side is that they have very, very big expectations for themselves, which I love, I appreciate, but it's difficult for me to rein them in and to set expectations for themselves. When I hear a brand new realtor say, I want to sell 30 houses in my first year, I think that's awesome that you have goals like that.
Yeah.
But we need to work on getting your first deal. Yeah. So it can be frustrating because I feel like Mick in Rocky, where he grabs him and says, I got all this knowledge in my head and you just won't listen to me,
Right.
And I want to tell them that, but they will burn themselves out after a couple months. So I'll spend a lot of time and energy with new agents, and then they burn out, and then they don't end up renewing their license. But my favorite situation is when I meet with a new agent, we develop a game plan, they stick to it. And then I see them doing deals, and then we get to do those deals, and it's a win all the way around. That is one of the best feelings. And some of my closest friends to this day were agents that I met with, maybe 8 years ago when I started working with Magnus, and now they're top producers. So
that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? Who are your favorite types of people to work with? Home buyers, home sellers? What prototype of?
So before COVID, because COVID changed the dynamic of the real estate market, at least in Arizona, from a price point standpoint. I'm not going to pretend to talk about the country because I sell houses in Arizona. My thing, my love, my passion, my niche, first-time home buyers. If I did 50 deals a year, 40 of them were first-time home buyers. And the reason why I loved it is they're green. They don't have anybody aside from maybe some parents chimping, in the background. But it gave me the opportunity to educate them. It gave me the opportunity, especially with some of the programs I used to be able to work with, especially when I was selling HUD homes. I could get you in a house for $500, like literally $500. And that getting a first time home buyer who's been renting an apartment, I just did one not too long ago. You guys did the escrow. The family, they never had a house. Like he and his wife grew up in apartments and or trailers. They were renting apartment at the time that we put them under contract. So this truly was their first house ever in their lifetime. That to me is, I've always had the mindset with first time home buyers, everybody deserves to own a home. So I love first time home buyers because more often than not, they didn't think they could achieve it. So then I come in, I find them from my marketing, my advertising and stuff that I would do when those programs were available, like the Nehemiah program, the AmeriDream program, HUD Homes, $500 down, and all the different grants they had with the FHAs and obviously the VA stuff. I've done a ton of stuff with veterans. But the first timers were my love and my passion, because just to see them light up or hear them like drop the phone screaming with excitement when I got them under contract. And oh, by the way, I got all your closing costs paid. So you're bringing to the table a total of $3,000. You get $1,000 earnest money. You got your $450 for the appraisal and your $400 for the inspection fee. Other than that, I think you get money back at closing. And it was fantastic because they never thought they could do it. And I helped them achieve that. And then I've had people, because I've done it long enough now, that have sold that original house and then moved up, and they were smart.
What a rewarding feeling. I mean,
it's fantastic.
You are basically facilitating, more than facilitating, you are leading the charge on the probably one of the two or three most important decisions these people have ever made in their life.
Right.
And I know that you already know this, but for the sake of your viewers that might not understand, what your world is like, you will be remembered by those people in 50 years.
Hopefully.
I mean, that you are an integral part of their life, that chapter in their life. So that's a beautiful thing, man. And people think oftentimes realtors are just, box checkers and this, that, and the other. And there's some of those types out there, let's be honest.
There are.
But a professional realtor or real estate agent who is experienced like you are, and look, I'm not trying to stroke your ego, and I'm not trying to just pump you up so that you have a good little clip for the podcast. I mean this sincerely.
I don't pick them. The Riverside platform picks my shorts
for
me.
AI picks it. So maybe this will make the cut. We'll see.
You never know.
AI, if you're listening, Riverside platform, AI technology, include this in one of the shorts. No, but a professional like yourself, you're changing people's lives, and so that's a rewarding thing to be a part of. And can I ask you this? I hope you don't mind me asking so many questions. And
no, far away.
But you're an interesting person, and I if you had to give advice to realtors, give advice to home sellers and home buyers all the time. If you had to give advice to an agent who just got licensed in 2025. In a little bit of a slower market, not a slow market, but slower than it was 3-4 years ago.
Sure.
If you had to give advice on how to get up and running and be a full-time realtor, what would you say? Because Chris, you're crushing deals left and right. You're very successful, and so what would you tell a new agent? This
is going to be a great answer for you, because it's one of the things that I wish I never stopped doing. Find a neighborhood with 300 or less houses, because they're out there, and farm it. Go there every week, print out the tax records so you know who lives where. I got to the point in a neighborhood called Stapley Greens. Okay, when I left Century 21, I went to West USA. So imagine that. Go from a 50-50 split, 100% support, to West USA. You're not paying a dime and you're out on your own. I latched on to the office manager and bugged the hell out of her for the first year I was there, because my first 6 months at T21, I did one deal. The next 6 months at West USA, I did 13, and then I never looked back. But I farmed a neighborhood, and I got so good at farming that neighborhood that I would my average list time was 90 minutes, list to sold. Because I knew everybody in the neighborhood. So then I had my database of buyers that I knew what we're looking price-wise. I found a neighborhood that was FHA friendly, so that's another thing too. Find something that's FHA threshold or below, so then you can cater to the first-time home buyers and cater to the ones that don't have enough of the 5, 10, 15, 20% down, right? FHA 3.5. I did it every week. I knocked on doors. If they weren't home, I put a flyer on the door. I had 4 different commission plans that I would pitch to the homeowners. 4, 5, 6, and 8%. 9 times out of 10, Jason, they picked 8.
Yeah.
And with the 8%, I offered 3% to the buyer's agent. The rest of it stayed within the listing broker side. And that's not me doing a stupid number of things. That's just reality of what I did. So calm down, all you lawsuit people. But that alone, if I could go back into my timing in my career, I got too busy, which is why I stopped doing it. But if I could go back to that third or fourth year when I was still doing Staple Greens neighborhood, which is off of Stapley and McKellips, I would continue to do it because it's grown from a value standpoint, but the neighborhood size is the same. You didn't build more houses, but it was small enough that I could walk it during a week, a couple days a week. I could walk every house. And it was that repetitive thing, find a neighborhood where you can get to the front door, because there's so many neighborhoods now that have, no soliciting and all that kind of jazz. But find a small neighborhood you can go to a couple times a week and map it out, know who you're talking to. I never beat them over the head with anything. I was like, hey, I'm Chris Dunham, a real estate guy. I'm just, in the neighborhood, wanting to find out if you're looking to sell a home, whatever it was. Once I got my first listing, then I would go back the next day. I went to the neighborhood and I would knock on doors. Hey, I just listed Bob's house down the street. I don't know if you knew anybody that's thinking about moving in the neighborhood, because of the school district, it was in a specific ward for the LDS. So I would use that as an in when I knocked on the door. I actually sold a couple of houses because people wanted to move in or out of that ward. There's that. But it truly was a way to get started in a business without having to spend tons of money, because all it was I created a flyer. I printed it at the office, took 100 with me every time I went out, knocked on doors. They weren't home. I put the flyer on the doorknob. It was that simple. And then
Consistency.
And then as I continued to get more and more recognized in the neighborhood, then my phone would start ringing because I'd have a sign up, and I actually was a neighborhood specialist. The other thing to do, as I bring that up, whatever neighborhood you find, look at the sold houses for the last year, and you're going to be surprised, unless it's Augusta Ranch, that you don't have one single realtor that's dominating the area, right? You just don't.
Chris, I swear to God, I did not plan this. I didn't tell you I wanted to ask you that.
Nope.
It just so happens almost everything you just said is what I talk to my newer agents about with farm, and some of my more experienced agents who have never farmed a neighborhood. Right. Everything you just said, so the turnover rate, extremely important, right? Yep. And by the way, I have tools. You and I actually should get together and talk about this. I have different apps and tools that can show you where the high turnover rates are. Yeah. But yes, I always recommend about 300 homes. You can go down to 250, but if you go too much lower than 300 or too much above 300, it won't be sustainable.
Nope.
Everything you said, and getting on the MLS and looking over the last year as to who is dominating that area, and making sure, ideally, that there's not one agent or one team that's super, super heavy in that area. Yep. Everything you said, man, that is, I'd say that's about 30% of my presentation on how to pick and conduct a proper farm as a realtor. Yeah,
the biggest difference now is the fact that you can geographically farm without knocking on doors. Right, like my neighborhood, I'm working diligently always to stay prevalent in my current neighborhood. Since we've lived here for 4 years, I've had 9 listings and/or buyers, which is more than any other realtor that has come into the neighborhood. So I'm kind of quote unquote the neighborhood specialist. But then you still have the people that, because my neighborhood's so old, our house was built in the 90s, but most of them were built in the 70s because it's acre plus horse property and the Gilbert Queen Creek border. So there's some people that have lived here since the day the house was built, right? So then they're going to have certain realtors they gravitate to just because. But on a whole, because I'm so active on our Facebook page and I send out stuff to neighborhoods, I send out this one thing. Do I have one over here? I do. Live podcast moment.
I saw those sexy shorts. I saw those Daisy Dukes.
Right. So we live in an irrigated neighborhood. So every homeowner got one of these the first of the year.
I saw that. You showed that too. Did we may have even printed some of those.
I think you did. I think you printed those, and then I put them all together.
That's brilliant. That is that's a useful thing that people will hang on to.
What's funny is I've had a couple people call thinking I'm the irrigation guy. I'm like, I'm not the irrigation guy. Like right here.
I can't be for a month while your home's in escrow.
Right. Remember, I'm not just another what does it say? I'm not just another realtor. I'm your neighbor.
Not just another realtor. I'm your irrigation guy.
Right? But yeah, and they're magnet.
Yeah.
So they fit on the refrigerators.
Dude, those are brilliant. That's one of my favorite things. Once in a while, we'll see like sports schedules, things like that. But an irrigation schedule, coming from someone who had a couple homes on irrigation.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's important. you're
And
going to hang on to that.
what's crazy, because you mentioned baseball, this is what dawned on me, because like I got to figure out a way to get to every single house, because my neighborhood houses are 200 to 400 feet apart from each other. Some of them have gates so you can't get past the driveway. So I was like, how do I get into the neighborhood without overly, obnoxiously getting into the neighborhood, aside from the stuff that I mail out every now and then? Because then I got all kinds of feedback. Hey, thanks for the calendar. Thanks for the magnet, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, I even had to call, my irrigation's late. Like, mine is too.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's dude, the farming an area, being consistent, that's one of the things I would recommend as well. And
Yep.
I would also try to tell a new agent, and I do tell new agents, be consistent, be very wise with your time. Don't mistake being busy with being productive. And it's
Thank you
hard
for
as a new
that.
agent. You have to decide what's going to be fruitful and what's not. And that's where you have to go, and you have to ask people. You have to ask Chris Dunham, or you have to ask your marketing guy. You have to. Here's the thing: what a lot of agents don't, newer agents, well, just people in
Yeah.
general, in life, in the world,
Right.
human
Right.
beings, they oftentimes don't realize that 90% of the time, people like to help you. If you ask, people will help you. If you go to somebody who's super successful in what they're doing, I mean, when I was doing commercials as an actor and I
Yeah.
wanted to break into, major
Movies and stuff.
roles,
Yeah.
I knew some pretty successful actors, and you'd be surprised. I would say, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee? Can we spend 20 minutes? I just have questions. Can you help
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Almost everybody would say, yep, absolutely.
That's cool.
They want to help.
How many of those people do you still know?
I know a couple of them.
Cool. That's good.
But I'm so far removed from that industry
Well,
that
yeah.
we don't.
Well, I don't want name drops. I just
wanted
wanted,
social
yeah,
media.
yeah. I don't want name drops. I just was curious because
Yeah, a couple of them. I know a couple of them, and
Yeah,
one of
cool.
them way back in the day. This is way back in the day. We waited tables together,
Oh,
and
right
we used
on.
to cover each other's shifts
Cool.
for auditions.
Oh, right
And
on.
he was actually about 10 years older than me, and
Okay.
very much what somebody would probably accuse him of being at the twilight of his potential career. And look, if you haven't made it yet, dude,
You're not
you
gonna.
need to hang it
Yeah.
up, And he is very successful. He
Nice.
wrote a script, he sold it, he ended up writing a television show. It ran
Cool.
for 3 or 4 seasons,
Nice.
and now he's a part of production.
Cool.
He's and
you
on
still talk to him?
HBO shows.
Still
So-
talk to him?
Yeah, we still talk once in a while.
Cool.
I shoot him a text, and
Awesome.
we'll interact. So
That's cool.
yeah, but people love to help people. So if you
Yeah.
see someone who's very successful, ask them. Ask
Agreed.
them for advice.
I tell Nick all the time that I wish I would have come worked for him the first time he and I had that conversation. It was right about the time Brokers Hub opened, but I wasn't ready to go anywhere yet, because just what I've learned in the 3 years I've been there, just like, he's just a superhuman when it comes to everything real estate related. It's mind-boggling what he does and how he does it.
Nick Yale, God, I love him so much. He has a big heart. He's very, very,
He does.
very, very good at what he does. He's extremely knowledgeable, and that's the
Yeah.
thing that Nick is big on, is helping. I can't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's an open book. He pours and pours and pours and pours out.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I'm the same. When I've had people in my career come in and ask me things, I have no problem sharing them with everything that I've done, been there, done that. Because the catch is, people think, well, you're giving up your trade secrets. Well, not really, because what I tell Jason today doesn't mean Jason's actually going to follow through with that
Right.
for more than 2 weeks.
Yep.
Because
yep.
most agents will follow through with it for 2 weeks, and then they go on to something else, because most agents.
Dude, do you want a job with us? You are in my head. That's what I have. When I meet with agents, they're like, why are you going to share the secrets of what
Yep.
your other successful agents are doing? And I say, because you're not going to do it. I'm going to tell you what to do, but you most likely won't do it. You know?
When the market was full of HUD, 2000, 9, 10, 11, 12, that era.
That kind of post meltdown.
I would so, like when I was at Solutions Real Estate in Gilbert, I'd have HUD classes. The owners asked me how to do HUD classes. I'm like, absolutely, because I knew HUDs back and forth, left and right. I mean, I created an entire 5-page document that explained the entire HUD home buying process that I would give to buyers, and I shared that with people, and I showed them how to register for HUDs and how to bid on HUDs and what the magic numbers were in the math, because I'd done so many of them I knew what percentage to get if this house is worth 2 and HUD has it listed for 160. I can come in here at 77% of that price and add this amount of money to it and probably get it as an owner occupant. So I mean, all day long, you would think, and back then HUD paid 5% co-broks, like standard. So you would think that Solutions Real Estate would have been an upper echelon of HUD homes, but I was the main one that did the bulk of them because everybody would just do 1 or 2. And the benefit of HUD back then, you got a full-blown inspection report done for you already. And it was like a legit inspection report. Everything, pictures, summaries, anything wrong with the house is listed. They had FHA 203K and 203B, different types of repairs. They roll into the financing of the loan because of an FHA product. So if you had less than $5,000 repairs, you get the FHA 203K, I think that one was. If it was between 5 and 10, the FHA 203B. And you're financing that on top of whatever you spend, but you're still buying it right side up, I called it, because the equity's here and I'm getting it for you down here.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful, and by the way, it cost you $500. And they were all, I sold houses in Chandler, man, that before the market crash were $500,000 houses. They were walking in for $170. Just
unbelievable.
Ridiculous. Like there's stuff in my neighborhood that I'm sure back in the day when the HUD crash came was 90,000, 100,000 easy. And yeah, it's true. Asking anybody for their knowledge, they're not gonna destroy your rise or your numbers, because if I share something with Jason, chances are Jason's not you, Jason, right? You're not gonna follow through with it on a consistent basis and have it have that dramatic of an impact on your career.
And this isn't, unfortunately, it's not the case 100% of the time, but more times than not, if that person asks you for advice, you give them the secret sauce, they use it, they're successful,
right?
They are going to help you refine that process.
Yes.
And most likely, you are at some point in time, if they're now a tight member of your network, you are going to have a question or a need from them. And they are going to bend over backwards to help you and make sure that you're successful in whatever endeavor you're asking them for help on.
Yep. Oh yeah.
So, yeah, dude, you could work for us. You could work for Magnus Title. You know enough about what I go through. So.
Yep. There you go. That's the.
I'll start having you pin shit for me.
There you go. Yeah, you go on vacation. I'll just step in. I'll step in. I'll fill in for you. I'll fill in for you every now and then. And, we'll see what it'll be the shaved head guy and then the stylish hair guy, right? Which one's coming today, the bald guy or the
I'll just shave my head so they won't be able to tell us apart. Shave my head and take my mustache off. I'll shave my head and I'll give you a Velcro mustache.
There you go. Yeah. Little it's funny. All right, well, we're gonna wrap this up. This has been awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on A Moment with a Real Estate Guy.
Hey, man, thank you for having me.
The longest episode
awesome.
ever.
I've really just really appreciating you over the last couple of years, letting me kind of into your world and into your network, and you're a hell of a guy. You're awesome, man. So thank you, Chris.
And it can be said the same can be said about you, because again, I can't tell you the amount of times over my career people call me lenders and title companies, and my response was this: look, I have a title company I've worked with, or I've had a lender I've worked with, and then people get all butthurt. It's like, look. I'm loyal. Well, that's unheard of. Well, it is unheard of. That's why I'm loyal. So, I'm sure Great American Title is suffering a little bit because all of a sudden I'm at Magnus now, and I was like legit. They would refer, I don't know if I should say that alive or not, but the escrow officers actually would refer me business. That's how long I was with them. But that's because they knew how I ran my business. I've always had this one thing, and we'll wrap it up with this: connections before commissions. I got to connect with you before I go make money helping you buy or sell your home. That's my paycheck, but it's the connecting with you first and foremost that's going to have the level of comfort that we all need to be successful in whatever we're doing in life. So the commission's a byproduct of the connections that we have when we're working with people.
I'm going to steal that, connections before commissions. That's kind of like in the martial arts world or in the jiu-jitsu world, they say position before submission. So you need to get into the right position before you start working the submission, and you need to make the connection before you start even thinking about the commission. So, dude, that's it. That's beautifully said. I'm going to steal that.
Thank you. You can steal it. I made it up a long time ago. That's Jason Heynen, Magnus Title. I'm Chris. I'm the Real Estate Guy. Until next time, see ya.
See you guys. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.